Hello there, and welcome to episode 36, part 2 of Sustainability Simplified. In part 1, I spoke about the introduction to sustainable menstrual hygiene and the 101 of menstrual cups. However, if you think that taking to menstrual cups is too big a jump for you right now, then this episode might help you. Today, we're going to talk about the basics of reusable pads or cloth pads. And with these two words, reusable and pads, you might think, my goodness, Zitan, that sounds like a terrible and unhygienic idea. You might also have a few questions, and I will try to resolve them through this episode. If I'm unable to, feel free to reach out to me. My details are in the caption below. Okay, back to the episode. Before I begin this part of the episode, two pointers. Firstly, if you are facing any specific medical conditions such as PCOS or endometriosis, or just due to any other health reasons, you have heavy flow or blood clots, please consult your gynecologist before taking any action. Second, this episode only provides basic guidance on usage of cloth pads, their care and maintenance. For further guidance on any specific medical or technical query, it's always good to reach out to your family physician and or your gynecologist. So let's begin. In this part of the episode, I have basically divided the 101 of cloth pads into what, why, and how, just like how I had did it in part 1 for menstrual cups. If you missed part 1 of this episode, I have put the link of the episode in the caption below. So let's get back to what we're going to talk about today. First up, what is a cloth pad and what is it really made out of? Simply put, a cloth pad looks just like a regular sanitary napkin, just that this one is made out of cloth. The top layer usually is made out of highly absorbent materials such as cotton, bamboo fabric, hemp, and so on. This allows the fluid to pass through to the middle layer, which is usually a mix of cotton, polyester, and other absorbent fabrics. And finally, take it along to the last layer, which makes it leak proof, which is made out of polyurethane laminate. So, why should you take to reusable pads and what's so special about them? Of course, they are far kinder to the earth as compared to the conventional plastic pad, which basically contains about 4 plastic bags into each pad. So, one conventional pad contains 4 plastic bags. These reusable pads are free from chemical residues, acids, or alkalis, and they can be washed in lukewarm to cold water and are basically ready to use. They are a cheaper option because they basically involve a one time investment that lasts up to 60 washes for every pad. You can also wear each reusable pad at a gap of 4 to 6 hours depending on the flow you have. And guess what? Cloth pads are also supplied with what is called as a wet bag or a leak proof travel pouch of sorts. It looks something like this. And up to at least two soil pads can actually fit into this bag, sometimes more. The UNFPA, or the United Nations Population Fund, has prescribed certain global standards for supply of reusable menstrual pads. The link to those global standards are actually given in the caption below. Now, quickly, let's jump into the how. If you look at a reusable pad, you will find that the shape and size is quite similar to a regular pad. Just that this one is made out of cloth materials, as I mentioned earlier, is washable, kinder to the environment, doesn't have adhesive. Whoa, wait, what? It doesn't have adhesive? Then how does it stay? Or does it stay even? You might ask me. Let's get to the steps of wearing a cloth pad, and I will help you to answer those questions. Step 1. Ensure that you have purchased the cloth pad set, which usually comes in a pack of 10 to 30 cloth pads along with the travel pouch, and they are washed as soon as they come in. Once they are washed, and there are two ways of washing them. You can either hand wash them um, in lukewarm to cold water, or you can machine wash them, preferably in cold water. I usually hand wash them. You then move to the next step of drying these pads. Please ensure that you dry them naturally and they are hung dried and not in a dryer machine, which is Not really recommended, because it reduces, in most cases, it reduces the life of the pad and also damages the pad. Similarly, preferring cold water to warm water or hot water for washing the pads. Once they are dried out, you can basically pick the size that is more relevant. So they usually come in three sizes: the smaller one, the mid-sized, and also the larger one. For example, if it is night time, I prefer to have the largest size on me. If it is the last day of my cycle, I prefer to have the smallest one. So, what you need to basically do is you need to fit it on your undergarment just as a normal regular pad, as the way you do it. It's just that instead of adhesive, this sticks or this stays because of this button, right? So you fasten this button at the bottom, so it's fixed and it's basically in one place. Now, after 4 to 6 hours, you can remove the same, right? And there's a way to wrap this pad up so that you can put it in your travel bag. What you need to do is fold it from each of the ends and then on the sides of the button, and that's it. It wraps itself up. After this, you need to put it in this bag, right? And you can store it for some time. Once you have a few pads and you want to wash them, you can do so. And I usually hand wash my pads, but you can also machine wash them. How you need to hand wash them is basically in a few steps. Firstly, there are two ways of doing it. One, you could either open it up, so unwrap the pad and then put it inside a bucket of water faced down. So it should be faced down like this, so that the liquid basically releases, or the fluid gets released from the pad and goes into the water at the bottom. The alternate way of doing that is using a tap and under tap water, basically trying to remove the fluid as much as you can. Secondly, you can keep them again in a bucket of fresh water with soap, and this time it could be soaked in for 3 to 4 hours. Now, after that time period has elapsed, you can then remove the pads and you can wash the soap off and hang dry them essentially. Please, as I mentioned earlier, refrain from using the dryers. Most cloth pads don't quite perform very well if continuously put in the dryer. And that's it. I now would like to move to the concluding part of this episode, where I want to talk about a few questions you might have, which I haven't been able to talk about in the previous sort of proceedings of this episode. One, does it get messy? Is it really effective? Are there leakage issues? Now, you might feel that because there is no adhesive on these pads. But as per my experience, I have never ever faced any leakage issues, which again depends on the flow, depends on the frequency of how frequently you change the pad, and so on and so forth. But simply put, my logic, apart from the fact that there is a button which is fastening it at the bottom, apart from that, the cloth is made in such a way that it takes the shape of the area, so it keeps you closer to the source of the fluid that's coming in. And that makes sure that when it takes the shape of the area, that makes sure that it's not kind of moving every now and then. Again, you will not know until you try, so this will depend on the depth of your flow and other factors, but try it out. The second question is, if I am to machine wash reusable pads, what is the best way to do so? I gave you the full breakdown of how I hand wash my cloth pads, but you can also machine wash them, and it is possible. Um, you can start with the same first step, which is you can soak them in a bucket of water to basically ensure that the fluid is out, or you can run them under the tap. Now, you can put the pad inside the bucket for about 30 minutes to do that. After that, the pad would be basically put along with other clothes into your washing machine. Again, refrain from using fabric softener here, as it could reduce the absorption power of the cloth pad. Once it is washed, remove it from the machine and pull it from both ends to ensure that it stays in shape. And then you can hang dry the pads. That's basically about machine washing. What is the suitable age to begin wearing cloth pads? This is something that I had received as a question to you guys in part one as well, but I wanted to repeat it for this episode as well because I think it's a very important point. Effectively, there is no age for beginning to adopt sustainable menstrual hygiene practices and or products. And even those individuals who are at the start of their menstruating journey can actually use a menstrual cup and or reusable pads. I would say the earlier the better, because when we're young we're quicker to sort of adopt new practices. So that's it. I hope this helps. Please drop in your comments, doubts in the comment section below on our YouTube video, or you can reach out to me on my socials. I am on at Zitin Munshi. That's at ZITINMUNSHI. You'll find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. See you in the next episode.